So give it a few seconds. Yep, and I can see, I don't know if you guys can see it, but right now it says meeting is now streaming live. But we're not going to record yet. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to hit record. There we go. Okay, welcome back, everybody, to Everything Horses and More podcast with your host, me, Caroline Best of the Tao of Horsemanship. And today we have two really special guests. I know everybody is special, but you guys, what you're doing, I shared a little bit about how I felt when I first saw your podcast. You do so many podcasts to bring awareness to the beautiful work that you do. And when I first heard about you just a couple of months ago, I mean, I was, I had tears in my eyes and chills. And I shared that with you personally, and I'll start to cry talking about it because it's, I don't know how to say it. It's not often that I am enamored. It's more often that I am saddened by some of the people in my industry, and what you guys are doing is just so, you're like angels, what you're bringing to people and horses. And in the horse industry, we need so much more of that because of the way that we all revere them, but not all of us know how to communicate and connect with them and allow the horse to give us their gifts. It's really hard. And so I am so honored that you're here. Thank you so much. And, I just want to talk all about what you guys are doing today. And so welcome, everyone. This is Dana Croschere. Did I say your last name correctly? And
Yes.
we've got Krisanna Sexton. I love that last name. That is sexy. I'm sure you get told that. Real quick, this is so funny. I was married before, and my last name was Ryder. So it was Ryder Horsemanship.
Yes.
Right?
It's
And
perfect.
then, yes, now it's Best, but I was not going to do Best Horsemanship. Oh gosh.
That's a great last name, though.
But I play on it all the time. I'm like, you're at the best place. All right. Well, welcome, ladies. And Happy New Year. And as everyone's aware, we're going to be talking about the miracles, the mystery, and the science of healing with horses. Thank you so much. So I'm going to do a little intro about you guys. Just give me a couple of seconds or a minute here. Dana is an award-winning film producer and has spent the last 15 years volunteering at various ranches, immersing herself in the transformative world of equine-assisted therapies and witnessing the healing power, presence, and sacred connection between horses and humans. Krisanna, Anna, right? I got to remember that. Krisanna, an award-winning director with Live Wild Films. She's driven by a mission to spread hope and healing. While her experience with horses may not be that extensive, Krisanna's belief in exploring alternative modalities for healing inspires her work as a director. And we're going to dive into this because there's nobody else out there like you guys. This is amazing, and how they tie into Heartland too. Krisanna's most recent film's success, this is huge, Love Heals, has received acclaim across international boundaries. Scheduled for a national broadcast on PBS, everyone. PBS in January, this month. This documentary stands as a testament to Krisanna's ability to touch hearts and minds through her heartfelt storytelling. Her work on rescued hearts, which we're going to dive into today, promises to be a continuation of her mission to inspire and heal through the medium of film. So wow, so we're pulling film and horses together and humans. This is beautiful. And I'm gonna start out with something that I found along my studies of you guys, because pulling information and getting to know you better. I want to bring up the inspiration behind Rescued Hearts, what you've written, Dana. And this will gives me chills. So many of us can relate to so many magical moments with horses. The hardest part, and I know it's not for you guys because you witness this all the time. And it's not hard for me because I witness it all the time. But for everyone else out there, they want to witness this all the time. They want to have that level of connection, interaction, engagement. And that's one of the areas that I really I hope to kind of pull back full circle in this podcast is not just to highlight all the amazing things you both are doing and how it touches all of us as professional trainers, equestrians, horse lovers, horse owners. I hate that word, owning horses. I hate the word training. But how can we be more engaged? Hopefully through this podcast, listening to you all, that it inspires equestrians to think about every moment in their life, not just with their equines, because this is about life in general and all your relationships, but how you can make them meaningful and purposeful and have value for the other that is connected to you. It's not just about what we get out of it, but what can we give? And that mutual enriching experience and I know you guys know all about this, that mutually enriching experience that just keeps on giving. The more you give, it just keeps on giving. It's powerful. So I'm going to read this. You wrote this, Dana. I once witnessed a miracle when a 7-year-old boy with autism spoke his very first words while interacting with a horse, and it forever changed my life. After hearing countless stories of people who have experienced miraculous transformations in the presence of horses, I began to wonder, why are horses so healing to humans, and what are they here to teach us? My partner, Krisanna, and I are award-winning filmmakers, and together we are embarking on a journey to better understand the horse-human connection. Our film will share powerful stories from those who have experienced incredible transformations and those who have dedicated their lives to equine-assisted work. We'll highlight researchers who can speak to why this connection is so powerful and share tools, that's key, tools to help us access our healing power within. Rescued Hearts isn't just the story of horses. It's a story of all of us and the power that lies within to create healing and transformation in our lives. Thank you, Dana. That's beautiful. So yeah, the first question for you is, what events in your lives, both of you, inspired you, guided you to where you are today, personally and professionally? Go ahead. Who wants to speak?
Dana should start.
I'm gonna say that I'm the extrovert of the two of us. So when you hear uncomfortable pauses, it's because I'm trying to give Krisanna an opportunity to speak and share first. So, but I'll go first. I'm happy to. I feel like there's so much to share, but in the spirit of having a limited amount of time, I will just tell you that probably the biggest catalyst for change in my life occurred recently when I started a chronic pain journey, which is actually covered in our other film, Love Heals. But I was going through the motions of my life, achieving all of the successes that I thought I was meant to achieve by working the job in corporate America and earning the salary, making it to 6 figures in my life, feeling like that was the goal. And I found myself just feeling a little bit empty and full of stress. And so when my chronic pain journey began in 2017, it literally turned my life upside down because I hadn't realized the impact that stress and previous trauma and suppressing emotion and all of these other things could have on our lives. So it brought me to this crossroads. I ended up having 2 unsuccessful spine surgeries in 2020 and literally was unsure if I was going to live through the second one and if I would ever walk again or have a normal life. So I had a lot of time to contemplate who I am and how I want to show up in this world if I were to overcome such a challenging experience in my life. So I will tell you today, as a filmmaker, I wouldn't be here without that really dark time of my life. It was the thing.
You weren't alone. You were not alone. So let's talk a little bit about, you can't get through this dark place without love.
Yeah, you can't.
weren't alone.
No, and thank goodness, because I'm sure not everybody has that as their experience. So, and that's why our film is called Love Heals. I mean, it's not just love from others, but mostly love from ourselves. So I was just really blessed to have Krisanna, my partner in life and my partner in work, by my side through that journey. But I will tell you, just going through that made me realize this is not the life that I want to live any longer. So I found my way out of corporate America. During this time of recovery, Krisanna was asked to create a film about healing, and not just any healing, but about the power of self-love and the fact that we are our own greatest healers.
Oh, I've
And
got chills. What timing, what synchronicity.
it
Like,
was
tell me,
unbelievable.
how long were you guys together before this happened?
So
Before
we
you,
were we were together. Actually, the chronic pain started about 5 months after we met in 2017. So we're going on 7 years together, and the journey started pretty much in the beginning. And so Krisanna has seen me through every aspect of this. But I think what your question is, like, how did we get to where we are today in our personal life and careers as documentary filmmakers? I could not have ever imagined myself as a film producer. But in that, I want to call it was traumatic. So in that trauma, I had to really answer some tough questions. Do I go back to the life that I had that got me where I am today because it's comfortable and what I thought was stable at the time?
yeah.
Or do I follow my heart's calling and realize that the things that I've been learning throughout my life and all of these transferable skills as a person in leadership in corporate America transferred so beautifully into the role of a film producer? So Krisanna and I created Love Heals together and recognized, oh my gosh, this is our life calling, to create films that spread a lot of love, hope, and healing to people. And my pain then had a purpose, and so began the journey. So that's how I got to where I'm at today. I could have never guessed that this is where I would be.
Wow. And you had no prior, uh, you know, film experience?
None. Krisanna did, and I'll let her
Yes.
share. But
Yes.
everything I have learned has been in our time together producing Love Heals and now Rescued Hearts. And I think sometimes we limit ourselves, Caroline. I think we believe that all we can do is this thing that we were trained for or we went to school for.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we feel stuck. And I didn't realize that everything that brought me up to that point of time in my life was going to transfer so beautifully into this new role. And yeah, I'm learning and growing every single day. And it's definitely something I will do, hopefully, for the rest of my life.
It's like a gift and a curse what happened to you, because a lot of people will never reach that, unfortunately, because they're too comfortable. And, change is scary. It's like you've got to hit rock bottom in your life in order to take a different path or find a different path.
It's true.
So you hit that rock bottom in a lot of ways. It sounds like, between corporate burnout and frustration and stagnation and then this pain. And, gosh, so much of what you guys do is what I do as a professional, especially with the chakra work and releasing trauma for horses and people. And it's like, I'm sure you've heard of Louise Hayes, in her book. And it's like, okay, where is this manifestation of pain? Whatever that pain is, could be a bruise, could be a toothache, could be a headache, could be a constant this. We could go on and talk about the depth of where you think that the root cause was of your physical pain and how it manifested and showed up. Because did you have an accident that created this back pain?
Yeah, I had an injury. So
Okay.
we were working out a lot and I was running on a treadmill and I pulled a muscle actually in my calf. And then it wasn't healing. And then it went to my other calf. And then before you knew it, I had pain going up my leg into my sciatica and then lower back. And it just, there's a lot of information out there on the mind body illnesses, stresses, chronic pain, and the connections
Yes.
that, there's so much there. Our nervous system is directly connected to what's happening in our bodies. And I had a lot of trauma in my life. And if people go back and watch our film, Love Heals, they'll see the journey and what brought me to where I was then when the chronic pain journey started, and then the unraveling and the journey within that it took me on that I wasn't necessarily ready for, but it was the greatest journey of my entire life, and it changed everything.
When I got back into horses, back in 2004, and stopped the corporate, stopped my other business. My marriage was suffering at the time, but I didn't know what to do. Wasn't happy, didn't want to start a family with this person. It did not intuitively feel well. And I just could not stop crying from my late horse that had passed away 2 years prior, that I had for 25 years. I'm like, what am I doing? Where do I belong? And it wasn't until I let go and just followed my bliss, which was horses, not having any prior experience with training or being a professional in this industry, just a love and being with horses, and perhaps a natural gift to some level, being with horses my whole life. But when I got back into horses and I created that sacred space for myself, that to be vulnerable and intimate, because I didn't have it in my marriage. And I was, the more I grew and blossomed, and it was painful in the beginning, the more I realized how many unhealthy relationships I had and how many dynamics I had to let go of if I wanted to grow. You know, we innately don't change. We are who we are, but we can certainly evolve and grow. And it was the most beautiful, the duality, the most beautiful and the most scary and heartbreaking time. So I'm thinking of the two of you. That's why I asked. You met, and it wasn't until shortly after, but you fell in love and you met, and you, Krisanna, became that sacred space. You know, for you, on an unconscious, perhaps subconscious level, Dana, to release. And all of this stuff started releasing throughout your body. And yeah, it's crazy. I created that. I actually, my first farm, I made into an ashram. Like, I went from DC life to partying, going out, hosting parties, you know, love DC, got that out of my system, to absolute solitude, where I couldn't even go into a restaurant without crying. I was electrocuted by all the stimuli. But I was so out of touch within that everything, that all of a sudden I went from dull to super sensitive. And I had to figure out, you know, how to come back into that balance again. So how much it affects your nervous system is insane. It, you know, whether sometimes it hits you over the head, and sometimes, you know, you kind of stumble into it and you're like, holy cow, what's happening to my body? But it's important to rewire that nervous system and allow the natural way of our bodies to take care of ourselves once we get rid of like so much of our trauma and pollution, you know, like inner stuff that just clouds everything. It's huge what you guys are doing and embarking on, and in such a beautiful, it's so deep, it's so powerful. You know, someone can come into it at this level and somebody can just dive down into your work and go, wow, man. What you're offering is, for anyone on every level, is absolutely phenomenal.
Wow. Thank you for that. But it's really Krisanna at the core of all of this. I mean, I'm going to ask her to share, because her journey has been remarkable from the beginning. Yeah, she's the director. She captures the beautiful cinematography. I film as well, but she's our editor, the storyteller. She is just so the heart.
Yeah.
Both. Yeah. So, Krisanna, do you want to share?
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to.
And you have experience with horses. You do. You both do. But has anybody ridden a horse or anything?
Yeah, I'm the one that had the horse experience. I volunteered for years and years.
That's
I
right.
owned a horse for a short time, but Krisanna, when I told her we're doing a film on horses, she's like, okay.
What?
Yeah.
Well, we both, I mean, to be fair, we did both feel guided in that way. And I think my whole journey has very much been guided. Like I even the way in which I came to be a storyteller, I was very young. I was like 16. And my dad just told me I needed to take this media production class, and it ended up completely changing my life. I won 2 national film competitions while I was a teenager, and just realized, like, oh, this must be the thing. But what I will say as it relates to horses, it's funny because I feel like horses have been such an important part of Dane and I's journey, even though I was like the sickly asthmatic kid that couldn't go outside a lot and, I just had a lot of issues growing up. But Dana, when we first really committed to doing life together, she said, my one requirement is that you love me, but leave me wild. And I feel like even the picture you see behind her is like such an incredible depiction of that. And it's an Atticus quote, love her, but leave her wild.
Oh, I
And she
love
would say, I'm like a wild horse. You don't tame me. Just let me be
Yes.
myself. And this
Yes.
is going to work. And even throughout our whole house, there's photos just like that one, but there's all these beautiful photos of horses. Dana's owned several horses. And for me, it was just this thing I loved because she loves it.
Mhm.
She loves horses. She feels very connected to them, even in seasons where she wasn't necessarily like with them every week or owning them. I mean, it's just amazing to see how much she like feels a connection to them. So I loved them in that way. But yeah, I don't have any horse experience, and I certainly didn't grow up around the animals, or even as we started filming. That's maybe another topic. But I had a lot of fear that I had to work through in even being around them and being in their presence. And I will just say high level, what brought me here is like the chapters of my life were really hating myself because I knew I was gay at a young age. And I had to kind of work that out. Like, am I worthy of my own love? Am I worthy of God's love? Am I worthy of my parents' love? Like all these things. And then I got married at a very young age to a man to try to like solidify I am straight. And everybody needs to know that. But the whole time I was wrestling inside because I was developing this craft of storytelling and seeing the power that it has. I mean, we can all probably talk about a documentary that we've watched that changed some kind of behavior in us, or maybe even shifted the way we perceive a group of people or perceive a topic. Like that is a power when wielded for good, I think is really amazing. And I wanted to understand that power and not use it to necessarily manipulate, but like figure out how can I share my heart and spread this and this energy in a way that's really amazing. But the issue at the time was that I was not my authentic self. I was not living authentically. I was completely out of alignment.
Yep.
So I think that season was necessary. But as I came into this place of like wrestling and figuring out maybe
you accept yourself. I mean, you're beautiful.
yes,
Acceptance. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. I mean, I think yes, that's it. Everything is acceptance.
Yeah.
And I think as I learned to accept and love myself, like literally, it was like that week that I was kind of unpacking a lot of this stuff that I met Dana in church. And that's like a long story, but I was still married at the time. So the month that I decided to end my marriage and I was going to be fully out as gay, and that was the same month that Dana's got injured. And that's when her chronic pain journey began. So there was a period of time where I actually blamed myself and feeling some kind of responsibility in that way. But now I can see that it was in us, in the safety of our love, even though it was a chaotic time. And I'm sure that contributed to it. But in the safety of our connection, her body was able to start unpacking. And mine was too. I mean, I was working through more emotional layers and she was working through more physical layers. But it's really amazing because my dream was to create documentaries. And until Dana and I's connection and our, subsequent journey, every time I would attempt, it's like it would just fizzle out. And so I did a lot of other kind of filmmaking work. But then as Dana was post-spine surgery, that was Love Heals was my first feature film. And it's really amazing to see how it's helping people and how it's sparked this mission in us to continue creating content in this way that is spreading a lot of hope and healing.
When in my life, and it doesn't always work out this way, and that's something I'm continuously trying to be aware of, but when things are meant to happen, they just fall into place, don't they? And it's like everything opens up instead of me trying to push it or make it, or I think it's got to happen, or I feel insecure, that horrible feeling where, oh my gosh, I need to do this because I'm missing something, instead of just sitting back and not even reflecting, but just here we go, being, and there's so many ways of being, more content and grateful, whatever, but being in the moment and, it's not losing vision of what we want. It's not losing the intention or manifesting or anything powerful like that, putting all that positive energy towards what you want. But there's a difference between what you want and allowing and what you want in feeding that with like an insecure level of energy. And what you guys are doing, and I can see that by studying what you've been doing and looking at it. You've got all these films, these documentaries that are coming out and everything. And we've spoken privately, so not everybody knows what's going on, but they all connect, and they're all opening up and aligning, and they connect in the same kind of titles. It's just absolutely amazing how this has just opened up this huge reservoir for you, and you don't even have enough time to accomplish all this stuff. It's like bam, 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 bam. I got all these ideas, and everything's just opening. All these doors are opening up, and your people are recognizing the beautiful work. As a director, Krisanna, producer, when you're behind, I want people to understand that you don't have the horse experience. What has it been like for you watching horses in this light, behind the lens? I know you engage with them, but you know what I mean? You're behind it. And I have to videotape a lot of stuff. So I'm not you. I know what it's like to set my camera there, though. I know what it's like to film my student. And it's so hard to be behind the lens and then also, be instructing or be talking to somebody, but when you're behind that lens, you're totally engrossed in capturing. You've got to feel so many things have got to come through to you that must be, what happens to you behind the camera?
Well, I'll say this, creating this film has forced me to film in a way that I've never filmed before, because I'm more used to being able to have some intention around like, oh, the light, and maybe I'll have those people stand there. And I really try to let things unfold naturally, but just being able to direct in a way of like what is appealing to me, and kind of use whatever tools I feel are going to really make the scene really beautiful. And it's fascinating because every time we filmed, I wish we need to figure out how many times we filmed last year. It's so many. I mean, we were traveling, I think, more than we were home last year. But I feel like every time, especially in the beginning, I recognized quickly that I was not the director. I mean, sure, that's going to be I actually think Dana and I are the directors of this film because she has so much insight and vision, but it's really the horses. And any place that we went, the horse was running the show. And so very quickly I had to realize this is not my show. This is not even my story. It's actually the story of, there's some kind of energy around horses that's guiding us.
Yes.
And secondly, any extra tools I used, I would watch the horses just get off, like it impacted the energy because they didn't know what that was. So I couldn't use my stabilizer. Even tripods, if I use them, it's like on a long lens. So very quickly, I switched up the way in which I film so that the camera was just part of me.
Yes.
It was like me and the camera are one. And then also the horses forced me to be aware of every movement. Like as I walk in, how quickly am I walking in?
Yes.
Am I fumbling with a lot of things? Is my heart beating fast? What's my breathing like? And so I've learned to so appreciate that anytime I'm in the presence of horses, it makes me very aware of myself and what's happening in my body. And then just even to send the horses this energy of like, I love you and I'm here to be with you, not to take anything. I don't even like the term capture. I don't want to take anything. I just want to add to the experience and create such a peaceful presence that then whatever's supposed to happen is just organically happening. Like I know that I can't pretend I'm not there. My energy is naturally going to impact the space, but as much as possible, I wanted to add to it and be able to, and that's where I had to work through, frankly, that's where I had to work through a lot of my fear stuff, because I recognized I was walking in and my heart rate would elevate and I was afraid of being kicked in the face. We actually had a friend who was kicked in the face by a horse, and she told us so many details of that experience that then I recognized every time I was walking in, I would visualize what she experienced, which was a fluke thing that happened. And it would, it's like such awful circumstances around how that happened, but I had all this fear. So then I had to do this inner work of like, okay, it's not just about what happened to our friend. the horse is bringing up in me a state in which I am naturally operating, and now I'm becoming aware of it. I'm naturally operating out of a place of fear. And thank God I have awareness of that, because I don't want to go through this whole film and show up to every engagement where every time we're trying to film, I'm adding fear to the space.
Yes.
So I've had to go inside and do some work around that.
Oh, wow. That's huge.
We often say, Caroline, that it's not the films that we're creating that's really important. It's the people we're becoming in the process.
Yeah.
We are growing and healing and becoming so aware. And if I might answer the question as well, there was a time when Krisanna and I were both filming. So we're both behind the lens. We have long lenses on, and this is a longer story that I won't get into because I cannot ruin the film. This part is going to be very powerful, but I will just share with you that my father, he's not a veteran with PTSD, or he doesn't have any, quote unquote, things about him that make him broken or somebody that needs
Disabled.
some type of therapy, disabled, all of the words, right? He's just an average guy that went through a lot in his life, keeps it locked down. He's a little grumpy sometimes. He does suffer with chronic pain, so he does have some conditions that present themselves. But when my dad found out about this film, he was like, well, how do horses help people? Like, what does that even mean? And we were like,
yeah,
well, if you're willing to let us take you through a process with an equine assisted facilitator of session with you that's guided by somebody that knows what they're doing with these beautiful animals, I would love for you to be open to that experience. And so this is when I realized horses are not just quote unquote therapy animals for people like you, the traditional therapy, hippotherapy, physical, mental, emotional disabilities, or I like to call them diverse abilities. Actually, that's my favorite term.
I like that.
Yeah. And so my dad was like, yeah, sure, you can film it. Like, this is, I just felt like, anyway, if you know my dad, that was just like, yeah, whatever. So
well, I actually recall him saying, why don't you film me with the horses? Because I don't think we would have ever asked. He said it kind of flippantly. And then Dana's like,
yes.
Why don't we? Can we film you with horses? And he said, well, why not? Sure.
Oh my gosh.
It was remarkable. So here's why I want to share this. I feel like this is important.
Yeah.
Horses are not here in a way that they're just meant to be used as tools and controlled in shows and races and, therapy animals for the people that we think need it the most. My dad had an interaction with a horse. Actually, there were two. And Krisanna and I, from behind the lens, just witnessed something I never thought I would see in my entire life. I watched all of this armor that my dad has been carrying around with him just melt into the ground in the presence of this one particular horse. And through that session, my dad and I healed parts of our relationship that I never thought we would ever even talk about, because it was stuff that he would not entertain, and things came up because the horses really demand authenticity, and there's things that happen in the presence of them that we cannot explain in words, which is why our tagline is the miracles and the mystery, as well as the science. Right?
I call it a tuning fork. There's something within them that is a tuning fork that just knows exactly where to go.
1,000,000%. All I know is at some point I'm crying behind the lens because we're not in the interaction. We're the ones filming it. So my heart is just, it burst open. I'm watching my dad experience something. I saw a version of him I'd never seen before in the 45 years of my life on this earth. And I look over and Krisanna's like wiping her eyes. And I thought, man, this is healing. Creating this film, bringing to life things that cannot be put into words is so important to us. People don't understand the depth.
Experiential. It's experiential. Yes. For years, I've had so many people. It's so hard for me to talk about the work that I do. It's so experiential. It's so somatic if you allow it. It's so intimate. It's so vulnerable. But you have to allow it to happen. You can't control it. And the horse is there to guide you. They are my co-facilitators when I do my work. I'm your coach. They're your teachers. They're amazing. I can't imagine my life without them ever. Yeah. That's amazing for your father. So my question, and I know we don't want to ruin anything. So I absolutely, if you can't discuss anything, we don't want to ruin anything for the documentary. Did it change? Did it change him, or was it just momentarily, or did it open his perspective that he changed?
Yes,
Like
yes,
he
and
had an aha moment.
yeah, it definitely broke him wide open. And I think that's why Rescued Hearts is, at first the name of the film was like, oh, maybe we'll follow some journeys of rescued animals and how they help
Yeah.
humans. And then the Heart Math Institute started talking about their research of how when in the presence of a horse, our hearts actually can synchronize with them, and we can get into a state of what's called heart coherence, which is very healing. And so it started to explain all of this. But what I witnessed in my dad, his heart was broken wide open. And what I will tell you is that my relationship with him has never been the same. It has healed so much for the two of us. And I never, like, we could have gone to a therapist, right? And had an interaction with a therapist that would have, it would have either taken years to get there or never at all. We're in
Exactly.
one
Just be
session
playing
in the
the loop.
present. It was remarkable and life-changing, and I'm so grateful.
And that is that is so profound. I've always said, and I've said this in so many of my podcasts over the years, and horses are like aliens. I don't believe angels, aliens, they're even from this planet. I think they've come here to help us with our humanity. To those of us that are willing to look at ourselves and to be better, damn it, because we're horrible. We can be so horrible, effing horrible to each other. If I'm not careful at 56 years of age, I can get really tainted. And I don't want to be that person. I want to be the person that helps to spread the light and the positivity. But what we do to animals, what we do to each other is so disheartening. And if we can merge together, and connect in a positive way and be shown that constantly, not just, oh, I'm going to read this book right now, or, oh, I'm going to go to this workshop right now, or, oh, I'm going to watch this, like, at least with your documentary, they can play it over and over and over and over again, right? Kind of like a book. That's going to be a good thing. But it's to hope heals. I mean, you're here to help change, make great change. I can see it and feel it. Holy cow. And it's so positive for everyone to connect to. It's so positive. You just have to like take that leap of faith, trust the process and take that leap of faith, whatever it is, whether the leap of faith is believing in what you do or what someone else says, but we've got to take that leap of faith to make that change, that permanent change, that permanent break in pattern, behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go on to the next. So we talked about what was your inspiration for creating the film. And let's talk about, right now, we're talking about Rescued Hearts film. And you also have, oh gosh, the Love
Heals.
Love Heals. That one is going to be on PBS though. So that's not out yet.
It is. If people want to see, we have won a few awards for that. And it's currently on our website, lovehealsfilm.com, as a rental. We will be offering it for free at the end of this month. If people subscribe, they can get an email when it's ready on January 25th. But it will be playing around the country for the next 3 years on PBS stations. And big news, the platform Gaia picked up our film, and it will be on that platform on February 1st. So we are, yes.
Oh my gosh, I subscribe to Gaia. I told you that when we first met. Oh my gosh, it's huge.
It's huge. And what's even better is that both PBS and Gaia are very anxious for Rescued Hearts as well. So we are excited because I feel like we broke through this area where, as a documentary filmmaker, your only hope after you put your heart and soul into creating this, that it's going to be seen somewhere by people and it will have an impact. And now we know millions of people are going to see Rescued Rescued Hearts already. So we're very, very grateful for that.
When is that going to release? You're hoping that'll release Rescued
This
Hearts?
summer. This summer.
Yep.
Yes.
This summer. So talk to us a little bit about what we can expect with Rescued Hearts. Like, this is the one where we've got Heartland, the main actor. Amber Marshall, is it? Amber Marshall?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, we had a really extraordinary experience with her. Krisanna, do you want to share a little bit about some of the things that we, I don't want to say captured because I know you're very sensitive to that word, but I will tell you from my perspective, we captured some real magic over the last year with Rescued Hearts.
Yeah, I'd love to share. I quickly want to say, I think this is even a good intro for this, because I feel like even what I just processed around, like I had fear every time I'd go into filming. I feel like I need to also add that shifted into a place of, I actually feel like instant friendship now. Anytime we go to film, I feel like every horse is my friend. And so I've had like a lot of healing in that way. And I just wanted to add too that the fear that was coming up, like I said, was kind of more it was about what was inside of me, which is, I think, the magic of what horses help us do is just amplify and help us see
It's
what's
like
inside
they
of
can
us.
tune in and it resonates, whether we like it and we're comfortable with it or not. It's like our weaknesses and or our strengths, like you just said, are amplified. And maybe that was something, it had nothing to do with horses, but it was something more in a depletion, a weakness, something negative, whatever was going on in your deep subconscious, and the horse was able to amplify that. That's so cool. So you dealt with it, and now you're right where you want to be with them.
Yeah, and I'm always learning. I don't pretend to understand horses, but I think that it's just been a really cool journey, and I think that's just like a small window into what our year has been like. I mean, imagine we spent a little more than a year immersed, like twice a month. We were traveling to film these incredible animals and with various types of humans. So we didn't want to make it just about like practitioners, and we didn't want to make it just about like those who are even working with horses. We wanted it to be kind of a wide variety and let the stories guide us. And so we have a lot of footage, but really, we just filmed some of the most incredible things. Like for some people, it was real-time experiences. It was like Dana's dad, someone who was going through grief, someone who was like a veteran processing. Like we were able to film what they were processing and experiencing real time, which was so vulnerable and so powerful and sacred. And we were also able to talk with scientists and researchers who have done the actual work that inspired us to create this film, as it relates to humans and horses and what happens when they get together around like the heart and heart coherence, and just some of the various tests that have been done. It's not, I wouldn't say it's like all the film is about, but there's some really cool stuff that we were able to dig into in that way. And then people who are even helping horses heal. Like we recognized very quickly, we were a bit focused on the human and the horse, there's a lot there. There's a lot. I mean, even to your point, the way that we've treated horses, the way that the treatment of horses mirrors the way that humans have treated each other, how horses are guiding us to a different way of being that is, I think, founded in trust and love and connection, if we're willing to listen, and even how that mirrors where perhaps humanity is at in some ways. So many layers. We just ended up, especially Dana was really the one that would be sparked by something and say, I think we need to go here, and I think we need to do that. And so I'd say, okay, I guess we're gonna go do the thing. But it's amazing because it's really, the film has been guiding us. And I will say Rescued Hearts is going to be the primary film, but we have probably 4 short films that, because we have so much content, we're gonna do some deep dives in various topics in those 4 short films. So we'll still see how it's released and what happens in the edit, as I do always feel guided in that way. But it's going to be really amazing how it comes together, because I know at the end of the day, we are different people just in this experience of documenting, people interacting with horses, sharing with us about the miracles they've experienced or witnessed, and even the horses who are healing themselves. And so as we are different, I trust that people are really going to be impacted as they experience the film.
That's amazing. I mean, just the whole transformational process that you guys are able to capture. And so, what's the word I want to say? Eloquently. I mean, you're showing the little bit that I've seen, you're showing it. You're capturing the real time, the real moment, the real everything that's going on. Yeah, it's just so powerful. And these are just the first two films. So you have,
Yeah.
like you said, you've got a bunch of other ones in the
Mhm.
works. So this is really exciting. And so what was for those people that are all excited about hearing about Amber, you know, and Heartland, give us some juice on that. Like, what was that? What was that like?
Krisanna, can I share
How
this
did that happen?
Okay, yeah. So first of all, I want to give the punchline. Amber Marshall is everything you would ever want her to be and more, based on her character, Amy Fleming in Heartland. She's the real deal. And that's why I approached her with the opportunity to appear in this documentary, because she has such a huge heart for animals. And obviously, she's deeply connected to horses. She has her own horses that she lives life with, similar to what you would think based on the show.
Wow.
And she takes care of her own animals. She does the work with them. She cleans horse poop just like everyone else. And to me, her level of authenticity is really what drew me in. And I will say that the reason we really sought her to begin with, actually, I'm saying we, but Krisanna didn't know that I was reaching out to see if Amber was interested in our film, because I think she would have tried to talk me out of it. Like, oh my gosh, there's no way, don't waste your time. She's probably too busy, or she's not interested, because Krisanna sometimes has a fear of rejection before it happens. Like, oh my gosh, that would be so beautiful and amazing and perfect. And I know that our quality of work is deserving of somebody like Amber Marshall to be in our film. If that makes sense. So I have confidence in what we are bringing to the world, and Krisanna does too. But you know, rejection is tough. So I thought to myself, I'm going to reach out. And I looked online, and it is almost near impossible to reach her. So I won't share the nitty gritty details about how I finally got to her.
Yes.
But it's because I knew that what we had to offer was important and special, and something that would probably resonate with Amber based on her work in Heartland and who she is as a person. So once I reached her to share about what we were creating with Rescued Hearts, it was like, I'll never forget it, because when I got an email that was like, you know, through, I think it's like a talent agency, and then her saying yes to the project, you know, and do we want to film in September or October, like after Heartland is done being filmed for this season, I feel like my whole body went numb, because I knew this was important. I knew that this was providential. It was so just magical to think that the person who has impacted me on my journey so much with horses and actually in healing would be part of our film. So I'm going to give you a quick story that will help you understand why this means the world to us. So back in 2020, when I went through 2 unsuccessful spine surgeries and the story that's in Love Heals, I was in a really dark place. I didn't know if I was going to come out of this situation. And I was not a real big TV watcher, especially with Krisanna. We're very active, we're busy, we're always creating, we're not sitting in front of a television. But I will tell you that with a previous relationship years ago, you know, Heartland's been on now for 17 years. And I did watch all the way up to a certain point. And then when the breakup happened, it was like my life changed, and I kind of lost touch with however many seasons. And I loved the show. It was my favorite show I had ever seen. So while I was in recovery, I said to Krisanna, hey, I really need something to keep my mind busy, because I was in an extraordinary amount of physical pain and mental pain as well, based on what I was experiencing. And she was like, I'll watch it. I said, but I want to watch it from season 1, like from the very beginning. And she said, I'm all in. So do you know, Caroline, that we watched every single episode of every single season that was available by 2020? And there were certain episodes I will never forget. It makes me emotional, because there was a time when I really did lose hope. And there was something about certain episodes or the show or things that her character would navigate that brought me back to this idea that healing is possible. And the show was just so
Don't
good
give
for
up.
my nervous system
Yeah.
during that time. And Krisanna loved it. So I was like, oh, this is great. She sat there like a trooper on the futon in our living room because I wasn't allowed to go up the stairs to get to my bed. And that's what we did. And I think it healed our soul, like at a soul level, something within us. So it only made sense.
Connected to. Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. And that also, if I understand correctly, led you into the journey, Dana, of finding alternative ways of healing.
Yes.
This is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, when the surgeries and the pharmaceuticals and the different therapies don't work, you're really left to figure out what's next. And that journey took me down a path that has forever changed my life, and recognizing the power of our mindset and the biology of our beliefs and our thoughts. And it changed everything for me. And thankfully, again, my journey being what it was and having this amazing partner in life that's able to film things in a way and story tell in a way, not just my story, but the 18 other people we took on this journey with me, to understand like we're not alone in these things, and community is super important, and support and so many things, not catastrophizing what we're going through. Like there were so many things that I learned through that journey. And Krisanna said this, I'm going to probably butcher it. So Krisanna, maybe you can share, but she said like, Love Heals really taught her to love herself, not just her, me too. I went through the journey. And then Rescued Hearts is teaching us at such a deep level how to connect with our hearts, how to open our hearts, how to heal our hearts. And these two films, although very different, they're really helping people on a scale that I think they will. I know Love Heals already is, but I believe Rescued Hearts will be the same. And even if somebody doesn't have access to a horse, this film can help them.
Yeah, it's like in the common denominator with your work is horses. You know, the common denominator is, you know, we can all go through whatever personal pain and tragedy. I mean, we can all relate on some level, no matter what it is we're experiencing, because it's pain. Let's just give it that. We can all go through pain. We can all feel alone. We can all feel horrible. And you know, bringing it back to the horses and healing and the miracles and the mystery, you know, the whole title of this podcast, you know, I think we're seeing the full circle, how it just keeps coming back to no matter where you are in your life. And there is hope. There are so many, you know, alternative, holistic ways of healing out there. And we're also focusing on the power of the horse in all of this. You know, our personal experiences and what you've seen behind the camera, which you've experienced, though. You're part of that experience. Wow, it's huge. You're not us watching it. You are part of that experience. You're capturing it. It is affecting you. Oh, it's just amazing. So what are some of the most profound experiences that you've witnessed, you know, filming, producing, but what are you capturing? Like I said, it doesn't matter what the person's going through. You know, what have you seen? Where's the horse been in all of this transformation, this amazing healing? What have you share with us some of those magical moments?
For me, it was definitely the situation with my dad. Obviously, that hit very close to home because of my relationship with him. But I want to just everything. But I want to say something, and then I would love for Krisanna to share, because we have witnessed a lot over the last year. But one of the things that I feel deeply is that I want to inspire through our film a really like a new way for people to even be with horses. I mean, they deserve so much after working so hard for us. And instead of horses being looked at as the healer, all we witnessed is them being their authentic selves in every way. they're wild in their own right.
Yeah.
And just being a reflection for us to see what's going on internally. So maybe horses are helping us see ourselves more clearly. And then in that place, we find the connection that's going to start to help us heal from within. And that's how I would describe our experiences and all of our filmings, was that they're just giving us this insight that I think sometimes we're missing. So that was very apparent with my dad. I watched his heart open, his defenses fall. I watched him process stuff that he had shoved down for decades come to the surface. And the safety of this experience with this horse was able to release a massive amount of guilt and regret that he had over something that was related to me. And the healing
that he had never talked to you about. He never talked to you about that. And it came up during this.
I tried to bring it up in my life in the past, and he shut it down. He wasn't able to speak about it. So that is my take on it. And we just watched different variations of things that occurred. So Krisanna, I would love your perspective on what you think or what we've witnessed.
Yeah, so it's interesting. If you watch Love Heals, there's a moment where one of the energy practitioners that we connected with in Sedona, she talks about that the fact that healing takes a lot of energy, a lot of energy. And one of the reasons that people experience some kind of extra level of healing sometimes in Sedona specifically is because scientifically there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of magnetic energy in Sedona. And so the reason I share that is because I think if I were to distill it down, what I witnessed over and over in all of our times filming is that horses just embody this kind of extra level of energy and groundedness in their very presence. They just in existing, they make us fully in the present. They bring us fully back to the present. And in a time when more and more, we're going to see this. I think it'll be interesting as this next generation becomes older, but we're glued to our devices, right? We're like off somewhere else. And many of us struggle being in the present, or maybe the present doesn't feel very safe, or we haven't learned how to, be in that place and have it feel good. So horses like bring us there. And then I think they naturally, just being themselves, provide this extra energetic support that I believe is what made it possible for Dana's dad to go there. Because it's like one horse will do that on its own, but then you have a herd, the energy is magnified. And their fields scientifically are bigger than ours, right? Because they're creating a larger field. So even as much as our field is impacting theirs, their field is impacting ours. And I think it's this dance of energy that really we have to just show, because you can't quite put it into words, and even science can't quite quantify it, because there's something like deeper and truer happening.
It's experiential. It's something you experience and you feel. And it's somatic. It's visceral. It goes through the entire body, but that's the nervous system. And what you're talking about is heart coherence. They have this, it is their heart is one of their not the largest, obviously, but it's huge. It's so much bigger than ours, right? Our brain's bigger, their heart's bigger. So they operate from that sensory processing through the nervous system. And that emits, like heart math research has shown it, the frequency can go 4 feet out. And it's really important. If a horse feels safe, then their heart coherence is going to be very clear and very grounded. And that's the key. When I got back into horses, and one of the things was I got involved on the board of a equine facilitated therapy. It's changed a lot over the years. I'm not going to bring up the name. I'm glad it's changed, because my dad and I were on the board, and we got off after a couple of years the awareness is shifting now. So I think this is changing in the industry with horses. These horses then 15 years ago were not healthy horses. They were not emotionally agile, balanced, self-regulated, and they were being brought into an experience with humans who also were not emotionally balanced or agile. And there were a lot of dangerous situations happening. And this is when my dad and I left. We left actually before this happened, because I could see it happening. You've got to, more horses need rehabilitation than people understand. You know, I preach all the time in my experience working with thousands, and that's what I specialize in, is there's about 98% of our horses out there are traumatized, just like we are on some level or another. You know, it takes one hit, one traumatic experience for that horse to never forget. And it will carry that memory on every level, on a cellular level, on an emotional level, on every level, until that wrong is made right. And so here we come in and want to be with horses this way, but so often, and I wonder, I'm like, it's a question for you all too, you know, in my experience, like I said, 98% of these horses, it doesn't matter whose horse it is, has trauma, and they are not open like us. They're not open. They're no longer vulnerable. When you've worked with wild horses or when you've raised young horses that aren't tainted, you see the vulnerability. You see complete openness. You see complete presence. The horse is present. But as an educator, what I spend most of my time doing is just talking about this stuff in my own podcast. Like, look, you can't just expect a horse to heal you or be part of that healing process if they themselves are not prepared, if they don't come into this situation whole. You can't. I couldn't help you if I wasn't whole in that way or better in that way. If I came in to coach you and I was depleted, if I can't love myself, how am I going to teach you how to love, right? If I don't feel secure, how am I going to teach you how to feel secure? And so that's one of the things that I've seen in my journey as a student of the horse and as a teacher and an educator. What was your experience? Was it the same, but with and behind the camera and also with the creating this? It sounds to me like most of the horses were amazing. Like you found people in situations where the horse was open and able to engage and interact, no matter how much trauma or incongruent energy was going inside of that person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'll just say,
Yeah.
I didn't get to finish my thought because
Okay.
what I said was kind of like a generalization, but I did want to give a caveat, and that is that it wasn't always that case. In the same way that I think not every human is a healer. I do think we are all our own best healer. I do believe that.
Yes.
But I don't think that all of us are maybe ready to be helping other people in their healing journeys. And there's some people who are wired for that, and they're so good at it. And I think as nuanced as humans are, as we observe it, it seems that horses are as well. We categorize by race, we categorize by country, we categorize by gender. We do the same thing with horses and horse breeds and the gender of the horse, right? So I'm just like new to this world, and I find it very interesting because every horse is so unique and so different. So in saying what I said, I would say that is like the most beautiful version of what we witnessed. And we also witnessed times where the horse would dissociate and check out. Or times where we said, yeah, we're probably not using any of that footage because it didn't seem that the way in which this was being done is a way that's in alignment for us. And we're not interested in creating a film that's like outing methods or, criticizing. We're interested in creating a film that is inspiring. So those are like, I would never give names or situations. It's more just to say what we saw over and over was when it was done really well and the person interacting with the horse developed a relationship and a bond and a partnership that involved trust and healing and energy connection in that way. And they could read the horse's energy and then figure out like, oh, is this helpful for this horse? Is this horse interested in this kind of engagement? And when that was done really, really well, then we saw the most incredible things happen. And we also were heartbroken at times in the way we saw people interacting with horses. So I'll let Dana add to that because she's the one with the horse experience. I was kind of like the newbie observing and trying to figure out like, maybe no one should ride horses. Maybe no one should use tools. Maybe not. And then I just started to see, and this is what we were going to see in the film. We really are trying to give a balanced perspective. People have their opinions and we honor those opinions and we think everybody's entitled to that. But how do we bring voices together instead of polarizing people and say like, hey, let's all join the conversation as much as we are in service of the animal, we have to be in service of ourselves. So actually the breakdown of the treatment of horses, even in healing settings, I believe has to do with the breakdown within us. We would not treat animals this way if we weren't willing to treat ourselves that way. So this is a
Mm.
really important conversation. That's why we say it's bigger than just the story of horses. It's actually the story of all of us.
Yes.
Horses are just a part of this energy, and humans are no better, and horses are no better. Like, we're all just existing in this way and trying to understand each other better.
Yeah. And do better.
Yeah, do better.
Mhm.
And
And
that's my greatest hope too with the film, is when we know better, we do better.
Mm.
And for me, when I was introduced to horses, I was introduced to very controlling, harsher tactics to get the horse, safe. Well, you have to be the leader and you have to dominate this animal so that it's safe for you. And oh my gosh, I think back to what I was taught, knowing no better. My first interaction with horses, like on my own, not just somewhere where you go on a trail ride, was back in like 2005 or 2006. I leased a horse and I started volunteering. And the ways that I was taught and what I witnessed then is very different than the ways that I would do things now.
But that's what I
And
love. That's what I'm trying to get here too, is like this, if we approach horses in this way of being with them, in everything we do with them with this mindset and openness and accountability, for the lack of a better word, like, hey, take responsibility for how you're showing up. It changes to everyone, not just horses, to all mammals, all sentient beings. My gosh, it could be a flower too. We won't go there, and a fish, but that's where I'm headed with this too. For, my audience is more geared. Most of the people that are showing up are your audience in Heartland, but my audience is looking for that way of cohesiveness and congruency. And like your experience, Dana, with all of the more traditional, it's not about methods. I'm focusing a little bit on that, but I'm not trying to focus on that. It's just to say, hey, what I see in your work is so powerful for equine professionals, and people out there wanting to learn certain techniques and ways to be better for their horses. If we just start from this place of vulnerability and openness, which is what your documentaries show, improve, and then we can so align with the horse, so organically, easily, we can align through heart coherence to begin with. Just through heart coherence, we can begin right there. And then anything is possible, because that's trust. That's that safe. The horse feels safe. We feel grounded. Clarity comes. All these things start connecting and working when we come from that place, which I'm trying to pinpoint is what you're all about. You're bringing that to consciousness. You're saying, hey, for everyone out there, this is about healing and horses and the mystery and the magic of how powerful they are. And then I'm saying, hey, horse people, though, too, this is a better way of being and being with the horse, being with the horse.
That's right. And that's what's going to change our world. Because if I think about how I'm going to interact with not just a horse, but another human,
how do you show
am I
up?
going out to them with my agenda and objectives, with fear and or control, or heavy-handed tactics? Would I want to be approached that way myself? Would I want to approach another human that way? I wouldn't. What feels right in my body, never mind what I was taught, never mind the training videos I watched when I was young, never mind all of that. What feels right in my body and in my soul? And so that's how I want to show up. And one person we filmed with said, people really pride themselves on being a horse whisperer. And she said, what I want to be is a horse listener.
Yes.
I want to hear the horse. I want to give them a choice to interact. And a lot of our filming just organically was that. And I'm not saying, again, like Krisanna said, none of our stuff is polarizing. I think there are many people that ride horses and compete with horses and do work with horses that is very much in partnership and alignment, and it's beautiful. And I want to inspire people to just maybe open up their minds to what's possible as they deepen that relationship. And that is the story of humanity. I mean, there's so many topics that came up, I can't even begin to tell you. Like the correlation between how we've treated indigenous people and taking their land, and Mustangs, and how we take their land, and consent. If you're trying to get on a horse's back, like, are they a willing partner? Do
Do they
we
get
ask for
permission?
consent with
That's my
people?
whole,
Do you have permission?
I do not teach
Oh,
riding unless you get permission through
yeah,
a way of helping people. You have to get permission. What does that look like? That the horse
yeah,
comes at liberty to get you, whether it's off the fence, off the rail, from the mounting block. You know, there's no stirrup. You're not allowed to ride with a saddle because anybody can put your freaking foot in a stirrup and jump on a horse. This is
yeah.
total freedom. Do you have that? Because if you have that with a horse, you have everything. They are thinking about you. They care about you. They're going to take care of you. It
That's
goes
right.
against their natural instincts for self-preservation. When they revere you as one of their own, like a mother and a baby, then they will protect you.
Mm. Yeah, and I'm not saying that people who do ranch work that haven't had the time, like they're raised in this setting, that they're doing anything wrong. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
wonder what it might be like for them to approach their horse in a new way with an open heart and maybe even putting
More love
themselves more
and
love.
appreciation. Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's my greatest hope for our film is just to
For
help
the
humans
horse's
and
sake.
animals. Yeah.
Yes. For the
Yeah.
horse's sake. I love that because you're being advocates for the horse in this
Yeah.
in that way. And I love that.
Mhm.
I mean, gosh, we can go on as long as you guys want. There's so many people with questions. So I don't know.
Well, if you want to share some with us, I haven't been able to tap into any of the
Yeah.
live stuff. And also, we don't need to, keep expanding on this. We can always do another chat once our film is released. People may have more questions.
Yes.
We're not going anywhere. We're excited
Yeah.
because the
I
film will
think,
be done, this summer. And then as we release it, we're going to do a virtual release where everybody around the world
oh my
is
gosh.
able to access the film. We'll be doing one final fundraising push
Yes.
by February 15th. Krisanna is going to create like a 10 to 12-minute sneak preview of Rescued Hearts. And then we're going to do a Zoom call where we show some of the interviews that we got with the experts and Amber. And we're going to share that as well as the sneak preview of the film as a way to create more energy around our film project and hopefully some tax-deductible donations.
Can you
And
talk a little bit about that? Because
yeah,
I don't think anybody realizes that you guys, and who's funding this?
this is our project. We haven't been hired or paid to do the film.
And okay, you guys,
So people who believe in it are funding it. People who
yes,
believe in it.
yes. So, when we're done with all this and I'm getting the recordings ready, I'm going to put all this information up there, but you need donations. Part of us creating the RSVP for this, everyone, $10, $20, $100, $500, whatever you guys can donate helps.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
even if you can, I would say just subscribe on our website
Yeah.
because we'd love to make sure you know when the film is released. So right when you go to the rescuedheartsfilm.com, you can just put in your email. And if it makes sense for you, even if it is a small amount, it is tax deductible, which is really great. But it's incredible because people all over the world who believe in the message of what we're putting together have been so generous. And because of that, we've gotten this far and now we're in the final push and we're so excited to be completing the film.
Okay, but you still need money this year because
Yeah,
you have to finish this film
that's
in
right.
June. So, hello, you guys. They still need help with this. But so yeah, so I'm gonna put all of that information. I've got everything. I'll copy and paste to the website. You guys all know Rescued Hearts Film, go there.com, enter your email. You'll get the newsletter, you'll get updates. You guys are on Instagram. Your production company, Krisanna, is livewildfilms.com.
Yeah, Live Wild Films.
Live
Yeah.
Wild Films. Oh, I love wild.
Ah.
Livewildfilms.com. I love it. And your new documentary, Rescue Heart Films, is coming out. Your Instagram, Rescued Hearts Film. You also have Love Heals. You have an Instagram page for Love Heals too.
Yeah, I noticed
Well.
there's some confusion in the comments on YouTube. So I want to address it. So
Okay,
just to give people an understanding, Krisanna and I created our first film that was released in January of 2021. That's called Love Heals. That's the one that's already done. You can see it now on our website. You can see it if you subscribe to Gaia. It's coming on PBS. If you go on lovehealsfilm.com, you can rent it right now as well. You can subscribe so that you can see when we also do live events where we show the film. We have energy healers come, live musicians. We do Q&A with the filmmakers. So we have 2 events coming up in California. Santa Barbara and Ojai at the end of February. So we're very much in the release of Love Heals. Like it's already out there. And so when Love Heals was done, I started volunteering again because Krisanna, I think I was driving her crazy. We were like workaholics with Love Heals.
Yeah.
And she said, I need you to get a hobby because all we're doing is working. And I said, well, the thing I love the most is being around horses and helping people. So I started volunteering at a place called Equine Connections, where we live in Arizona. And that is really how the spark happened. And when it was time for us to start a new film, it just, all things were pointing to creating this film about the healing power of horses. So that's when that journey started. In November of last year, we started filming everything related to this horse film, which is called Rescued Hearts. And so Rescued Hearts also has its own rescuedheartsfilm.com. We're on social media, Facebook and Instagram. We share behind the scenes. We have stuff that we filmed with Amber Marshall. We just are creating community through this. We want to have a very positive impact, not just in the horse world, but the world in general with this film. And this film, Rescued Hearts, will be coming out this summer. So I know we talked about a lot of films, and it's Love Heals that's already out, Rescued Hearts film that's coming, and our production company is called Live Wild Films. That's just Krisanna and I. That's the umbrella that we work under.
Perfectly put.
I hope that helped.
Yes, that helped. Thank you. Yes, that helped. That helped. Well, let's look over here and see if there's any, if I can just get through this, see if there's any questions. And
I think that was the biggest thing I saw. And the short film, the boy, the mole, and the fox, and the horse, somebody brought that up. We absolutely loved that film. And I see that there are little pictures from that. Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And then somebody asked how to get access to the Zoom links. I suspect, is that something that you will, I assume they're talking about this dialogue. I suspect that will be sent out somewhere.
Yeah, so this recording will stay on my YouTube channel. Then I'm going to share this link from my YouTube channel to my Facebook and Instagram and my social media. And we're also going to send it out in our email, email base, our email list, so that everyone can get the recording. Plus the audio of this, I will take and edit and get that ready for the podcast directories like Apple and Spotify. So you've got, a visual recording that's going to stay on YouTube that I'll share with social media. You guys will get that too. And then I'm going to fill in the gaps with all this information on how to reach you guys and whatnot. And then the audio will be, once I edit that, probably tonight, and get that uploaded. That'll be on any of the directories, the podcast directories. So you have audio and visual. So yeah, anybody can come to the YouTube, my page, it'll be here, and just find this recording and copy and paste the link.
Brilliant.
And send it anywhere.
That's great.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. I think that's it, ladies. Anything else you want to add or end with? Are you good? Anything else you want to say?
I just appreciate this time. Thanks for caring about the film and allowing us to share with your audience. I think it's really amazing to even hear your perspective and to have met so many people who really do care about the well-being of these majestic animals. And I think it just shows that things are changing. Yeah. And even, I hope our film is one of many that's being created. So far, it seems like it's pretty unique, but I hope this becomes kind of almost a norm of, this type of storytelling being shared so that more and more people get access to this different way of being, which is really, it's not just with horses. It's just a different way of being, maybe with ourselves.
The level of consciousness. I think the whole humanity and the well-being for all living, it's just a way of being that is just raising that level of consciousness for humanity. It's good. It's positive. It's powerful, period. Horses are a wonderful medium, channeler of all of this, and a guide as well. So, and thank you, because there's no one else out there doing this work like you are. So thank you. And I'm just so happy that you said yes. And I'll do as many more podcasts that we can just focus on anything. I'm trying to give everybody as much, as I can about you and what you all are about. But gosh, anytime I can help. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, we so appreciate you. And also thank you to everybody that joined live. I just want you to know that I saw your messages. Lydia, thank you. And Veronica and Marcy and Becky and DK and all these other folks that took the time out of your day to be here with us. It really means the world to us. And I hope that part of our dialogue was beneficial to you in some way. And if you want to reach me personally as the producer of our films, you can reach me at dana@livewildfilms.com, LIVEWILD films with an S.com. So thank you all so much.
Excellent. And I'll put all that information into you guys into the YouTube, you know, the description.
Perfect.
All right, well, Happy New Year. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm not going to say good luck. Break a leg. Not literally, but knock them over. When I can't wait till this Rescued Hearts Films comes in, you know, it's all done in June. So
yeah, we're excited. Thank you so much, Caroline. Hope you have a beautiful start to the new year. Yes. And I'm sure we'll be in touch over the summer as our film is released.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you, everyone. God bless. Okay. Bye-bye.